What's up, mobile devs? I hope you're doing well. In this tutorial, we are going to create this amazing bar chart layout animation, strongly inspired by Miles Running Tracker. So Miles is an app available on the App Store, made unfortunately with SwiftUI, and just to be clear, this video is not sponsored at all by them, but I highly recommend you to download it because the app looks beautiful, and this is my second video highly inspired by their app. So what about the animation? The animation is going to be built, of course, by using React Native, and more in detail, we are going to animate everything by using Reanimated. And last but not least, if you're really curious about React Native animations and want to learn more, don't forget to check out my online course at reanimate.dev. So this course is designed to guide you from the basics of React Native animations to advanced techniques. And let's say the best way to achieve that, in my opinion, is to always recreate something from scratch. Because of that, my tutorials are going to feel just a bit slow, but hopefully they are also going to be very helpful. So this course is definitely built on top of animations, and we are going to explore how Reanimated works, how to unlock the full potential of Gesture Handler, and how to build stunning visual effects with React Native Skia. So no worries at all, because if you want to support me, subscribing to my YouTube channel is definitely more than enough. And that said, let's finally get our hands dirty and let's finally move on to the code part. So here, as you can see, we have our lovely Expo project initialized. And in this project, I just installed Reanimated. We are mainly going to use Reanimated for the animations. And I've also installed DateFNS, which is going to be really helpful in order to manipulate the dates. And in my opinion, it is also the best package to manipulate the dates in JavaScript in general. Then I'm going to support a custom font. This is totally optional, but in order to do that, I'm going to use Expo font. And we are going to use this Fira code regular, which is a very nice mono font to build the proper labels layout. So last but not least, in the constants.ts file, I've defined some hard-coded data. So here this might look a bit cumbersome, but no worries at all. Let's see practically what this means and why do we need this hard-coded data. So the point is that, of course, we want to build this UI. So we need somehow to have the data for a full week. So here you can see, for instance, that we have the data for a full week. This is the first day. Each day is basically an object with a date. For instance, this is Monday, this is Tuesday, Wednesday, and so on. And each day has also a value. So the value is between 0 and 1. So for instance, this is 0.6, 0.4, 1, 0.9, and so on. So of course, a full week is an array of 7 days. So we need to have an array of days. And then we have an array of weeks. So we have an array of days. So that's basically the data that we need to develop this animation. So of course, in your specific use case, you might use some API data, some data retrieved from some sort of API. In my specific use case for this tutorial, we are going to use some hard-coded data. And that's what this code is all about. So we have right there the week, which is an array of 7 values with a day and a value. And we have an array of 7 weeks. Here, for instance, we can have an array of 10 weeks, 20 weeks, and so on. So here you can see a practical view of what we have. So we have an array. So this is the first week with the day value, which is a date. And the value, as you can see, is nothing more than the output of the matRandom function, which is a value between 0 and 1. So let's say I've also defined the background color, which we are going to use it right now. So let's get back to our code and let's start to use the background color. So let's get rid of this text. Let's update the status bar color. And here we can start to define the weekly bar chart. So the weekly bar chart is going to be the final component, the component that we want to build. And of course, this is not going to be something super trivial that we can just write on the main file. So let's create the components folder. Let's create the weekly bar chart folder, and let's create the index.tsx file. So here the weekly bar chart is going to be a simple React Native view. So just to see something, let's import the view, and let's add the height equal to 100, width equal to 100. So here I'm not able to write basic code, and let's export this weekly bar chart. Let's import it back in the main file, and there we go. So of course this is quite far from the final result, but somehow we are able to see the weekly bar chart component right there. So what do we need to do? Let's specify the weekly bar chart properties, and then let's start to work with that. So actually, let's focus for now just on building the first week UI. So the first week is just going to be an array of 7 days. So what do we need to define? We need to define the day type, which will have a date and a value, a number between 0 and 1. Let's define the week as an array of days, and let's define the weekly bar chart props as just an object that will contain the active week. So let's say that we want to access the active week, and let's pass from there the active week. So as mentioned at the very beginning, we have this data. This data is an array of weeks. We just want to access for now the active week, which by default is going to be the first one. So we are just going to pass this, let's say the first value, the first week of the data array. That said, we can finally move on and build the UI for the first week. So instead of having these constants right there, let's just iterate over the, so here, fortunately, cursor is helping us. So let's take the active week, let's iterate over the active week, and right there we are just going to build the single bar UI. So let's specify the height equal to 100 for now, the width equal to 50, and the background color. And it seems that it isn't working at all, but actually, let's actually pass the flex direction equal to row. And somehow, believe it or not, but here we have the bar. So let's say gap equal to 10, and you can see that we have 7 different bars. So instead of using this background color equal to red, let's just specify a white background color. Let's define the border radius equal to 15. If you have already followed my previous tutorial, you know for sure that I love to add also the border curve property equal to continuous, which doesn't really change anything. And instead of using these values right there, since we want to have a reliable layout for all the devices, we cannot just place width equal to 50, but we need to derive the width of our single bar from the window width. So let's access here the window width by using the window dimension hook. Let's define the let's define the full width, the full bar chart width, which is going to be equal to the 90% of the screen. So this is going to be the width of the full container. Then let's define the bar width, which is going to be the bar chart width divided by the amount of data, divided by 7, of course, because we are going to have 7 days, but we want to take the active week dot length, which is going to be 7. And let's pass here the bar width. So let's reload. And it is somehow working properly, but of course we need to take also into account the gap. So let's define here the bar chart gap, which is going to be equal to 10. Let's pass here the bar chart gap. And in the bar width, we need to subtract the bar chart gap. So we are going to have 6 gaps. which are these ones. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and there we go. So hopefully this layout is going to work on all the devices because it is related to the window width. So it's taking as a reference the proper window width. So what do we actually need? Instead of passing the height equal to 100, let's define the maximum bar, the max bar height, which is going to be equal to 150. Let's place it right there. And since we have access to the day, we can take the day.value, which is a value between 0 and 1. So we are able to get properly the height that we are expecting. So of course here everything seems to be flipped. In order to fix that, we just need to pass the justify content property equal to flexend. Actually, since we have the flex direction equal to row, we need to pass the align items property equal to flexend. And let's reload. So as you can see, everything is working as expected. Every time that we reload, the data is changing, but that's simply because the constants that I've defined right there are using the random function, which is changing every time we reload. So this is totally expected. So last but not least, here we are, React Native is complaining because we need to pass the proper key. So here, let's say index, and let's pass the proper key. And if we reload, you can see that everything is working as expected. So far, we have built successfully the active week layout, but the point is that we want to support somehow multiple weeks. So let's have a quick look at the final design that we want to build. And right there, you can see that we are not just supporting the bars, we are also supporting this scroll view. So this scroll view will need not just a single active week, but it will need the full array of weeks. And each item in the scroll view will represent the, let's say, one of the potential weeks. So first of all, we cannot just pass here 1 week, we have to pass all the weeks. So let's say week. Since we want to get the active week, we are going also to support the active week index. So let's convert basically what we have done so far. And of course, in the app.tsx file, I mean, not in this file, in the index.tsx file, we need to pass the weeks, which are going to be the data, and then we can pass the active week index. So after all, nothing is really changing. We are just supporting the same UI that we were supporting previously, with the exception that right now the weekly bar chart will have access to all the weeks. So this is going to be extremely helpful because we can finally build our scroll view. So how to build the scroll view? The scroll view will be below this bar chart. So we need to define another container view. And right there, we can define the scroll view. So we are going to take all the weeks and we are going to iterate over these weeks. So let's create some views. Let's access also the index to pass the proper key. And within each view, we are going to place just a simple text. So there we go. Here you can see that we have 7 weeks. So the data is changing between 0 and 6. But of course, we need to fix somehow the layout that we have over there. So to fix the layout, I think the easiest solution is to define the scroll view height, which is going to be equal to 60. The full container height is going to be equal to the scroll view height plus the max bar height. And there we go. And then right there in this view, we are going to support the scroll view height. And we are going to take as a width the, let's say 100%. I mean, that's not correct. So let's access actually, let's define the scroll view width. So let's say style equal to window width, and the height equal to scroll view height. And here the width of each item inside the scroll view is going to be equal to window width. It is somehow working. So yes, you can see that we have this value right there. So this is the first item. Actually, to better see what's going on, let me update the background color and the opacity. So here, let's say index +3 +4. So here you can see what is going on. We have the first scroll view item, the second scroll view item, third one, and so on. So, I mean, by adding the scroll view, we have totally messed up the layout for the bar chart. So let me fix that quickly. So we need to pass the width of the container, which is going to be equal to window width, but we need to fix the margin horizontal of our layout right there, which is going to be equal to the window width minus the bar chart width divided by 2. So that's because the container is going to take the full available width because it is supporting also the scroll view. But of course we want to fix somehow the padding for the horizontal margin for the active for the chart, because we want to have some padding on the left side and on the right side, and this difference is exactly identical to the window width, the full width minus this width right there. So let's also place the proper height right there, and let's reload, and you can see that somehow this scroll view is working nicely. But of course we need to fix the color for these items, so let's do that. So we are going to have a white background color. We are going to have the font size equal to 16. We need to center the text. So let's say justify content equal to center and align items equal to center. And instead of placing just index, right now we want to, right here, we want to write week of the data retrieved from the first day of the week that is highlighted. So for instance, this Monday is the 29th of July, 5 August, this Monday is 5 August, 12 August, and so on. So how can we do that? Of course, instead of index, let's just write week of. And here we have access to the week. We need the first day of the week, which is going to be Monday. The day is a date object, and here we can use the format function from datefns. So here we can use the format string option, which is going to be the day and the month. So here I was extremely lucky. Instead of July with the 3 values, we just want to have the full month, which is going to be July. So this is the proper formatting. To be honest, you can just you can usually ask that to Claude or ChatGPT if you want to. And here, just to fix this weird 05, let's just fix that with a single D, and that's perfect. So instead of using this background color, actually, let's keep this background color for now, and let's fix the scroll behavior, because we don't want the scroll behavior, we want the snappy scrollable behavior. So to achieve that, we can simply access, we can simply pass the snap to interval equal to the window width, and we can pass the deceleration rate equal to fast. And by doing that, we are perfectly able to support the proper scrollable effect. So let's also remove the horizontal scroll indicator, so this thing right there. And there we go. So last but not least, let's add our lovely font family, which is Fira Code Regular. So by checking the design, we also want to fix we want to place the week with a lower W. And let's get rid of this opacity and this background color. And maybe the font size should be something like 14. And this looks perfect. If we scroll, actually, if we scroll too fast, we are able to jump too quickly over the items. To fix this behavior, we can just use the disable interval momentum property from this scroll view. And that's perfect. So let me refactor quickly this code. I'm just going to extract these styles right there, just to, just to fake some clear code, even though this is definitely not clear at all. So let's write here the styles.label, and that's fine. So far, we are able to build successfully this scroll view. But of course, we need to use the scroll view to update the active index, because for now we are just using the, we are always enforcing the active index to be the first index. So the point is that we want somehow to update the scroll view, and automatically the scroll view will change the active weak index. So to do that, let's say you can use a lot of different ways. I'm going to use the easiest possible way, which is not the best way at all, but it is the quickest. If you're interested in, let's say, understanding what is the best way to achieve that, I highly recommend you to check my previous tutorial about the pager demo, because there I spent some additional time to access perfectly on the UI thread the active index. So to keep things easier, right there, we are just going to use the onScroll function. And within the onScroll function, we can access the native event, and we can access the scroll offset on the x-axis. So here, let's just write scroll offset, which is going to be equal to the native event content offset x. So let's try to log to see what is going on. And here you can see that we are perfectly able to access the scroll offset. From the scroll offset, we can quickly and easily get the active index by dividing the scroll offset by the window width, which is the width of our scroll view. So here you can see that we have the active index equal to 1, equal to 2, equal to 3. It is working perfectly. So let's just round this value, because we don't want to have decimal values. So right now the active index is equal to 1, equal to 2, and so on. So it is working perfectly. So here there is an additional minor change that we need to do. This is not really needed, but I highly recommend you to do that. And here cursor is understanding already what we need to do. We need just to pass this scroll event throttle parameter equal to 16. Why 16? Because we want to support 60 FPS. And 60 FPS means that we want to support 60 frames per second. So this is 1 second, so 1000 milliseconds. And we want to fire the onScroll function each 16 milliseconds to support 60 FPS animation. So let's get back right there, and instead of console logging this value, which is the active index, let's just define the active index. So the idea is that we want somehow to pass the active index to the outer component, because we want that the outer component is able to update this active weak index. So how this is going to happen? First of all, this active index needs to be stored into a state, a React state. So this is going to be the active weak index. And then we need to, let's say, pass to the weekly bar chart an additional callback, which is going to be the active weak change. And in this, not the active weak change, the onWeak change. And this onWeak change will be fired by the scroll view every time the active weak changes. So of course we need to pass this onWeak change, which is a simple callback that accepts just the active index, the new active index. And right there, let's call the onWeak change. So if we reload and we try to scroll, you can see that we are able to update automatically the active index while scrolling. So again, this is definitely not the best way of handling the on-scroll logic. Usually the best way is to use an animated scroll view, but I don't want to overcomplicate this tutorial, so feel totally free to check out the Pager demo tutorial, because there you're going to find the proper way of accessing the on-scroll updates. So that said, of course, we are able to perfectly handle these, to perfectly update the the active week layout, but I mean, we are still missing the proper animation. So to build the animation, we are going to animate this view right there, which is the single bar layout. And instead of writing the code right there, we are going to animate this view. We are going to write some additional code. We are going to need an animated style. And because of that, let's jump right there and let's create a single bar. Actually, yeah, I mean, let's call it single bar TSX. So single bar chart, maybe it's better. Single bar chart. And here we are going to return this view right there. So let's return this React Native view. We need to define the single bar chart properties, which are going to be, I mean, we don't really need the index. We need the max height. We need the width. And we need the day. So instead of passing this value right there, let's just take this day that we have defined over there. Let's move it right there and let's export the day. So here, let's use the proper day. And here, let's rely on cursor, which is going to update all the values for us. Thanks, cursor. So let's export this single bar chart. Let's remove this day. Let's re-import the day from the single bar chart. So I did that just to avoid the require cycle issue, which happens usually with React Native. And let's remove this code right there, and let's pass the single bar chart. And there we go. So nothing has practically changed, but of course, right now we have an extracted component and we can work with this component right there. So as mentioned previously, we are going to animate this view. So instead of a simple view, let's use an animated view. So we are going to animate the height. And to do that, we need to define some reanimated style. We are going to use the use animated style hook from Reanimated. And here we are just going to return the height, which is going to be equal to max height multiplied by the active day. Here we need to pass the proper dependencies. And instead of passing the height in this specific way, we need to pass the reanimated style. And here the height has been passed from the reanimated style. So what has changed so far? Basically nothing. But the point is that we are using finally an animated style, which means that we can also finally use an high order function. For instance, we can use the with timing function from Reanimated. We can wrap this value, and by magic, if we scroll, automatically the bar height is going to be animated, which is amazing. So the point is that we don't want just to animate the height. By checking the demo here, you can see that we also want to animate somehow the opacity. So let's do quickly that. And we can just take the day value. So here, without adding the animation, you know that the day value is a value between 0 and 1. So automatically here you can see that the opacity is working nicely. But of course, by adding the with timing, everything is going to be always better, because we are animating automatically the value between 0 and 1. So the last minor thing that we need to do is that we need to add this letter, so Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and so on. So to do that, let's add an additional view right there. So let's take this React Native view. Here we are going to place a simple text. So the text is going to be equal to, for now, let's just place this pre-generated code. The width is going to be equal to the bar width. We are going to center the text. We are going to update the font size. So, we are not going to, Cursor is doing that for us, thank you. And we are going to update the margin top, maybe equal to 5. And instead of passing this label right there, let's rely on the format function from dateFNS. Let's take the day.day, which is the effective date. And here I believe it is something like E, and there we go. So let's specify also the proper font family, which is Fira Code Regular. Let's say text transform lowercase. Hopefully this is correct. And I think that somehow we just need to increase a bit the font size. And I think that everything is working perfectly. So I know that this tutorial wasn't really easy, but I really hope that it was helpful, and I really hope that you're going to be able to apply the same concepts and maybe reuse the same component in your personal projects. So thanks a lot for staying with me all this time, and hope to see you to the next one.